think this is where labor management has a little bit.
How can good labor management make you world class? That is the topic of my discussion today with Evan Danner. He is president of TZA. Evan, hello, welcome.
Good morning, how are you?
It's a great question. In fact, a recent article in SupplyChainBrain talked about the way in which companies manage their people as an important differentiator in being world class or not being world class. So are the companies you're talking to, are they making that distinction?
I think they're starting to. They're starting to understand that people really are their greatest asset, and that the technology and the automation that they're investing in is only as good as the people that are operating those systems and working with those systems. I think the challenge today is that there's a little bit of a labor problem out there in the industry, and that is that there's a shortage of skilled labor. There is an aging workforce out there that is closing in on retirement. So it's becoming more and more difficult, I think, to get the type of labor that we really want and need inside of those operations. And I think labor management programs can help with some of those things.
Mm-hmm. And when you do get the employees, they don't stick around as long as they used to, and so there's a lot of turnover.
It's absolutely right. You know, your labor strategies, your retention programs are critical to being a high-performance operation.
What do you mean when you say labor management program? What does that entail?
Well, I think it entails a number of things, right? And that's why it's an interesting question, because I think it's expanding in its scope. I think traditionally people think of labor management programs as someone coming in and putting in best practices, applying engineered standards, putting in some type of labor management software.
Yeah, I think of somebody with a stopwatch.
You think of somebody with a stopwatch?
I mean, it's very, very negative, very punitive in terms of how it treats the employee.
It can be. I think that's been changing over the last 5 to 10 years. Certainly it was thought of as that. I think now there's much more emphasis on what we call performance management, which is taking that management team and really giving them the tools they need to properly coach and counsel those associates out on the floor and really drive towards a higher level of performance.
Mm-hmm. So how exactly can a labor management program help business to meet some of the challenges it's facing today in terms of labor availability, quality of labor, turnover, and stuff like that?
Well, I think this is where labor management has a little different definition today than maybe it did even a few years ago, with the shortage of labor and the aging workforce and the issues that we're facing. We even have an image problem inside of, I think, distribution logistics a little bit. As you know, young people today don't really see themselves working inside of distribution or driving a truck. So those are huge challenges for the organizations that are out there, and many of which that we're working for. So how can we help them? Well, at the core, labor management systems and programs were designed to optimize performance, and it certainly does do that. I think the key is for organizations to take some of those savings and reinvest them back into those employee programs. And by that I mean it's important for organizations to have a very competitive base wage. It's important for them to layer some type of incentive program on top of that, so that they do gain a position inside of their market where they're in that leadership position from a wage perspective or a total comp perspective. More in that 75 to 85 to 90 percentile when you look at wage availability. It's important for them also, I believe, to reinvest in programs like onboarding and proper training. Giving associates the opportunity to move through and progress through an organization into different roles. So the key is investing back, I think, in your associates. If you do that and you can build a relationship, a great relationship with your associates, I think you can kind of build that team culture. And if you're able to build that team culture, I think I start to look at those companies as being preferred employers.
Are we seeing measurable benefits beyond cost savings? Are we seeing companies doing a better job of attracting and retaining talent as a result of the deployment of labor management programs?
Well, I think that even retention has a savings attached to it. I think a lot of it has savings attached to it. Better quality, better retention, easier onboarding, quicker training, getting through the learning curve, faster. All of those things are happening, but getting the right employee initially and then retaining those employees is really key to an operation operating at a high performance level.
So what's the future for labor management programs? What types of changes might we expect to see in years to come?
What we're seeing right now is an expansion of labor management across the enterprise. So we do a lot of
warehouse?
Outside of warehouse and distribution, right? Into manufacturing, delivery drivers, the retail stores, merchandisers, even into the administrative areas of the operation. So all of those are areas that can be measured, and again, we can put an expectation out there as to what the objective really is for those operations, and then again, if we achieve some level of improvement, we're able to feed that back into the organization, hopefully back towards the employee actually in those different departments. Additionally, I think we see continuing expansion of a cloud deployment for labor management software. We see continued and even growing interest in pay for performance. I think that will continue to grow. Really companies that are trying to control their base rate a little bit, but layer on a very attractive incentive program that gets them up to that level of total compensation that really positions them the right way, right? And then lastly, I think what we see, I know what we're seeing is with the change in the market, in the labor market, we're seeing that we're going to have to learn how to manage in a much more dynamic and flexible environment, and from a work schedule perspective. It's going to be a little like the retail space, right? You're going to have to go out and you're going to have to hire 100 people to get 60 people worth of effort into a building. There's going to be more use of not just full-time but part-time and temporary. And so the dynamics of how to work, in that type of environment is going to be key for organizations and keeping their utilization up, their performance up. And so we're working a lot with our software, ProTrack is our labor management software, on things like dynamic labor planning and alerting, better coaching, observation, coaching and counseling techniques and modules, and mobile applications to provide better communication between management and floor associates. So those are certainly some things that are changing in the industry.
Well, Evan, thank you for helping us to see beyond the stopwatch into the real value of labor management programs today. Thank you so much for being with us.
You're welcome. Thank you.